On the nod! 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 On the nod!
Hey, what's up? It's Brackett. You're watching On the Nod, and today I'm with Edward Colver. How are you, Edward?
I'm doing great, thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, thank you for joining us. Very excited about this interview, and I guess let's just get started. Now, how did you get started in photography? You were talking about how you grew up as an artist and how you've been doing art
I
your whole
don't call
life.
myself I don't call myself one. I grew up in studying applied arts though. Yeah, that ever since I was a child, I was interested in all forms of art and did drawings and woodworking, and then I started doing ceramics and printmaking and painting and sculpture and studied graphic design and things like that. And then when I started doing photography, that all totally influenced my work with that background.
Right, right. That makes sense. What were some of your photography influences?
My photography, what, I'm sorry?
Your influences in art and photography?
Yeah, I wasn't particularly influenced by photography when I initially started shooting photographs, that I was more familiar with the art world than the photography world. They hopefully collide, and that photography can be fine art. But
Right.
I never, I'd only paid attention to a few different photographers' work and stuff that I knew.
Okay. Interesting.
My favorite photographer is William Mortensen.
William Mortensen. Okay. I'm not familiar with his work. What kind of work does he do?
Just incredibly great stuff. He did a whole kind of a cult series and different things, and he's done just beautiful portraits and creative concept photos, and from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Interesting. And what kind of
Ansel Adams called him the Antichrist.
Ansel Adams? I can see that.
A ringing endorsement.
Well, very interesting. Now, you're pretty legendary as far as the photographs that you took in the hardcore punk scene in the early 80s. Can we talk about some of that? That would be great to hear more about.
Well, I was going out like multiple nights a week, 3, 4, 5 nights a week for 5 years, shooting pictures in the scene. I was rather present. And I started going in late 78. So when people started going to shows in late 79, early 80s and stuff, that I was already there. So whether they knew me or not, they knew I was, if they went to a show, I was there. So
Right.
and I was friends with these people. I saw them multiple nights a week and stuff, so it was fun.
I bet that's such an important time in music history, and you were right there, part of it. And your photographs are so intimate.
My photographs, what? I'm sorry.
They're so intimate, because you shot with what, a 50mm lens, and you didn't have any focus or anything like that.
Yeah, it was a 50mm lens, which is akin to human vision. There's no lens distortion like a wide angle lens or anything like that. It's like, that's why people say that it feels like I'm there. It's because I was that close to that person. I was, 2, 3, 4 feet away when I was taking pictures of them.
Right. Wow. That must have been an experience. Sure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Did you get to know, I mean, I know that you worked on the Black Flag album cover for Damage. Was that because you got to know the band and everything, or how did they approach you to do that?
I knew them before that. I'd been going to their shows and photographing them. They approached me to do that cover. And, some people think, well, did you just shoot it when Henry hit the mirror? And it was like, no, it had to be set up to be effective, because like if he just struck the mirror, he wouldn't have blood on his hand. And if he just struck the mirror in the photograph, you'd have a chance to do one photograph. Like, okay, ready, 1, 2, 3. And it's like, no, I set that up entirely to get the effect that I was looking for.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, you've shot over 500 album covers, is that correct?
Yeah, I worked on that many records. I'm going to try and compile a discography of the stuff I worked on for my next book project that I've been spent the last couple of years working on.
Okay, that would be a great read. I'd love to see that. That's
Me too.
fun. Are there any really memorable album covers that really stick out to you that you worked on?
Well, I remember most of them. There's a few I'd like to forget, but well, there's quite a few of the punk album covers that I worked on, and I'm very happy with the way they came out. You know, Black Flag and TSOL and Circle Jerks and Wasted Youth and Christian Death, and you know, bands like 45 Grave. So,
Wow. Now, how is that process? You basically talk to them about what they're looking for and then you shoot it, or is it more like you kind of tell them what would look good?
a lot of them were my concept. They just said that they wanted to do something, and you know, I figure out what would work a lot of times.
Mhm.
You know, so it wasn't just like taking pictures, it was conceptual photography, a lot of what I was doing. The live stuff, those are just, you know, photographs and stuff, but that stuff like the 45 Grave album cover and the Black Flag Damage, those were like conceptual things that I was setting up and accomplishing.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, those are such iconic photographs, and the one of the stage dive by Chuck Burke stage diving at an adolescent show is they, you know, a lot of people have said that describes the whole era of the early 80s hardcore music scene.
Thank you. You know,
Yeah.
like no autofocus or anything. That photograph's in focus. He went dunk, 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 jump, and he would just ran across the stage and jumped, and that photo is actually in perfect focus.
Oh,
I
wow.
had a high resolution drum scan done at the negative, and it's actually much better focused than I even thought to initially. I shot that photograph on July 4th, 1981,
Oh, wow.
during the adolescent set, I might add.
Very cool. Now, are there any bands now that you'd be interested in working with? Are you still taking photographs of the scene?
Trying not to. I kind of basically stopped doing photography about 10 years ago. For many, many years, I was shooting 4x5 architectural photographs of recording studios and post-production facilities, and getting the 4x5 film process became such a hassle with the then digitized stuff that it just became too much of a hassle to get the film process, and I quit doing it. I occasionally shoot friends' bands, just, you know, to help them out, or, you know, but I don't do too much shooting anymore. I license photographs, sell prints, and working on the book.
Great. Let's talk more about the book. Can you tell us what's going to be featured in it?
Tell you what, I'm sorry.
What's going to be featured in the book?
Well, I literally, oh, I know, terrible overused bad word. I really want to put pretty much the whole batch of my punk photos in there. And you know, I have photographs of all kinds of little small bands that nobody's even heard of almost, and they're all part of the scene. And I photographed everybody, and not just the stars. And I want to include them all, kind of like a, I don't know, compilation of early LA punk history. John Baccasatis from House of Blank is going to publish publish it. And we're planning on doing a 3 or 4 volume box set. And I want to include my kind of photographs at the same time I was shooting the punk scene and some other few other types of stuff that we mix in with it. It's going to be all punk stuff, but like I'm going to intersperse stuff to show like the time, you know, the time and the place, the city at that time.
Right. Right. Now, when is that going to be released? Do you know?
It's at least a year away. At least it's going to be a while. It's a major project.
Okay.
Not just one book. It's going to be, you know, probably a couple of thousand photographs and multiple volumes.
Right. Now, where can people purchase your books and your prints? You have a website, correct?
Yeah, I've never gone on it, but I have one.
Okay.
I also am represented by the Morrison Hotel Gallery.
Oh, I love that gallery.
Yeah, Henry Dilt's one of the founders.
Now, I was
We
going
had,
to ask
we had to
you.
switch devices. Now I have a fake background. I'll add.
Yeah. Edward magically changed his background, and we're back.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you how you got into the punk scene. What drew you into the punk scene?
Back when I watched television, I saw a news report on a club and some, you know, what was kind of going on in the underground scene, and I was intrigued. And I think I'd actually just lost 2 jobs on the same day, which was a real strange thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was kind of loose in all this short story, and I thought that looked kind of intriguing. I'm going to go check it out. And then I started going, and I took a camera with me, which I had just obtained. I had a friend that had bought a camera went over, and we were shooting photographs around the yard and in my room and stuff. And right after that, I ended up getting one. That was my first experience with one, and I got a real cheap piece of junk and started taking it to shows. You know, I've always kind of said, like, it's not the equipment. You know, people blame it on their equipment, and it's like, I don't think so. People make amazing photographs with a pinhole in a cardboard box with a pinhole, or even, you know, it just depends on what you're doing.
Right.
I was always using basically the same equipment all the time because I knew what it did and I knew how to use it and I knew how it felt and everything about it. Like shooting those live shows was kind of like a Zen thing to me. It might have been total overwhelming chaos in a lot of ways, but I was right there in the middle, sort of just floating through and paying attention to what was going on and shooting, you know, and I might have been getting knocked sideways, but I was still trying to compose a photo and take a photograph and not just randomly shoot and cross my fingers, you know, even getting knocked sideways. I was still trying to frame a photograph, and if it wasn't framed properly or something, I didn't want to bother shooting it.
Right. That makes sense. What was your first hardcore gig like?
Both hardcore what?
Oh, sorry. What was your
Shows?
first hardcore gig like?
Oh, gig like? I honestly don't remember which one it was. Once I started going and was out all the time and constantly there, and I'm not positive which was the first hardcore band that I saw. You know, might have been Middle Class that started that, and a lot of people reference them as being the first hardcore record about a Vogue.
Oh,
That
okay.
was 1978. Yeah.
Now, what would you
I
say?
always listened to,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just starting to say, I listened to like heavy psychedelic music and underground stuff besides the avant-garde, classical, and music concrete stuff that influenced me. I was always listening to sort of obscure and underground and kind of heavy records in the 60s. And then the punk scene came along, and that was entirely different, but it had a lot of energy also.
Right. Hmm, all right. Now I know you used to use symphony cards as business cards. Do you still do that?
Oh yeah, I have one. I brought one
Oh, really?
right
Oh, I
here.
love it. Oh, cool.
Oops,
With our deepest
let me just-
sympathy.
There we go.
I love that idea. That's such a unique idea.
And it has thank you. I've been using those for well over 40 years, I think. Trademark. I've never advertised. I've never asked for work. I've never had a published phone number, and I use those for my business cards.
Oh, wow. So people just kind of word of mouth find out about you, pretty much?
Yeah, I like to say if you do good work, people will find you.
Yeah, that's true. I'm
It's
still.
kind of amazing to me how I think the word trendy is applicable, how popular and trendy photography has become. It's kind of freaky. Everybody's taking pictures nowadays, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of amazing, you know. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't put the name of artists on myself, or, you know, I always say history will tell, but, you know, somebody will like take a picture and deem themselves, I'm a photographer. And it's like, well, there's a big difference between taking pictures and being a photographer, in my opinion.
Right. No, everybody thinks they're a photographer now if you have a cell phone. You
It's
know,
crazy. I like the term photography.
photography. I like that too. I like that too. I definitely experienced that as an artist as well. Like people just thinking that, they can do art when they're really just, you shouldn't be doing art. I understand how that goes. But
Yeah.
anybody can be an artist apparently. But
Yeah, well, more power to them.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true. Well, is there
That's a
anything else
good thing.
that you want to talk about before I let you go?
I'm looking at the stupid background in here. Um, I don't know. Mhm. Oh, I was going to mention to photographers that are paying attention to this that one of the things I used to do is I had an extension cord with a light socket I put on the end of it, and I'd have a light bulb in that, and that would be in my bag of camera junk, and I'd pull it out and I'd plug it in, and then I would take it and wave it over the subject's face, and I would follow, like I would pay attention to like how the light fell on their particular face, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's the best lighting for your face from this angle. And I was using like five lamp heads in a Studio 2400 pack with the lighting and stuff, and I would set up the key light from that angle. And once I studied how the light fell on people's faces, and you would kind of start the session with the best looking photos you get of that person by paying attention to how their face lit. Actually, I photographed this one guy, and he was the head of Van Cleef and Arpels. A friend of mine got me the job, and I was in his office setting some stuff up, and he says, "Make me look 10 years younger, like I got a 10-inch dick and my nose is straight." And I'm kind of like, what? And that's what he said. And I was like, oh my God. And I said, hey, I always said I made his nose look straight.
Did
I
you
actually
really?
I'd been in the room a couple minutes. I looked over and his nose was like that.
Oh
And I was like,
gosh.
whoa. I did that trick and I studied, and in the photograph, without any alteration, makeup or anything, I made his nose look straight because of how I cast the shadow.
Oh wow. I'll have to see
Studying the
that.
light on his face, it worked. He looked straight. And another guy I was photographing one time was he had a lot of hair, but he was thin and you could see through it, and there was a background light that was bouncing off of it. And I actually took it was in a recording studio, and I took a mic boom and a piece of sheet music, and I flag the light so that the shadow just casted his hairline.
Oh,
And so I took the light off of just his hair. His hair was still kind of backlit or whatever, but by flagging the light and once the strobe went off, it dispersed so there wasn't a hard-edged shadow, but it looked like he had a full head of hair
oh,
just by
wow.
how I manipulated the light. That's what's the fun of photography, is getting light to do what you need it to do or want it to do.
Right. That's so interesting how you that you just use a piece of music to make that effect happen. That's so cool.
Oh, a sheet of music, yeah, that's pretty funny. It was paper, I could have used a cardboard, something like that, but I just needed to create a flag that, and I did it again years later, but it wasn't quite as effective because he'd lost a lot more hair when I rephotographed him again. That was funny,
Oh,
but it looked
really?
okay. But the first time it was just like night and day, like Hair Club for Men. He had a full head of hair, just how I made the light work.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, these stories have been so great, and it's been great
Well,
getting
it's
to
just
know
being
you.
creative with the light.
Oh, yeah?
Well, thank you. Um, do we have any other questions of me?
I think I got them all. I just wanted to make sure that you said whatever you wanted to say about, we covered your book and how that's going to be coming out in like a year, you said, right? Your new book.
Well, hopefully within a year. It's hard to say. Yeah.
Okay. So people should.
No, talking about a few of my photography tricks is kind of fun because, like, back when I was creating these conceptual photographs and working with multiple lights and time exposures and available light mixed with strobe lights and things like that, I would never tell anybody how I did my photos. It's like you can guess, but
Yeah.
nowadays I like to impart knowledge and inspire people and help them out and help them be more creative with what they're trying to do. So it's kind of fun doing that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure people
Exposing.
watching would like to learn your tips and tricks. I know I'm interested. I mean, I'm not a photographer by any means, but I enjoy doing photography as well. But I'm more of a painter.
Well, hopefully I even maybe improved your concept of shooting photos.
Yes. Yeah.
One other thing I was going to say, like, I had a friend from Battalion of Saints. His wife says, "Oh, let me get a picture of you and George together." And she raised her phone up, and it was like, "Hold on, let's go over here by the cactus." We were about 10 feet away from two blue porta potties, and that was going to be the background of her photograph.
Oh,
And
no.
it's like, we're on line for the porta potty. We're like, let's go stand by the cactus and make a better background. You have to pay attention to everything that's fallen into the frame. And when you're photographing a person, like say outdoors in crummy light, unless you get in a used light area or something, if you have them stand in the light source, if you look up and you can kind of squint and go, okay, like the majority of light is coming from right here. But off that wall, you're getting some bounce light, and just pay attention, and you have them turn towards the source light, and then you get a best lighting on somebody's face without, doing studio work or anything. You just like, okay, like say I was here, and it's like, oh, you can move like this or this, and that looks the best. It casts a little shadow under the chin, makes a small nose shadow. So if you're not doing fancy lighting or anything, if you have a 45 down angle, 45-degree down angle lighting, it's kind of most optimum just for getting a simple photograph because it minimalizes shadows, delineates the chin, things like that.
Oh,
So you can kind of tell where the light source is and have your subject turn into that. Or once you're in the light source, you can actually have them move around a little bit, like how I did with the light bulb, but you get them to move their face and you go, oh, that looks good. Hang on, we'll shoot some pictures now. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. I get an idea of what you're saying. It's interesting. Light just plays such a huge part in the photographs. I mean, obviously, but by you talking about it, I mean, even more so. It's very interesting. All right. Well, any other tips you want to tell us about?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think of anything offhand. I appreciate your interest and time very much.
Oh, well, I appreciate you coming on here. Thank you for the interview. It's been so interesting getting to know your process and you and more about the
Thank you.
music back then. So, well, thank you for coming on The Nod. I've been talking to Edward Colver. I'm Brackett, and thank you for watching.